Good morning. This is Cecil and Blues. Thank you for joining me for this Final Fantasy XIV video. Today I'm going over the boss fights for Sohm All Heart Mode. This is the final side dungeon in Heavensward. This dungeon is unlocked by accepting the quest The Fires of Sohm All from an NPC in Idleshire. It will lead you to the dungeon's entrance near Mogholm in the Churning Mists. I will cover the 3 bosses in this video. The first boss is the Latent Ward. It only has a few abilities to keep track of, but most of your time will be dedicated to finding a safe place to stand. At the start of the fight, the boss will cast Inflammable Fumes. This is a room-wide AoE that deals a minimal amount of unavoidable damage to the whole party, but it is just a prelude to the main mechanic of this encounter. The next spell the boss will cast is Spore Sack. This will spawn a number of spores around the room. These are invulnerable and untargetable. The next cast of Inflammable Fumes will cause all of the Spore Sacks to detonate, creating large AoE zones that you will have a few seconds to move away from. You can get ahead of this danger by looking for a safe place to stand ahead of detonation. The second cast of Spore Sack will spawn a sack that is larger than the others. When this detonates, it will create a proximity AoE effect. You will need to move as far away from this effect as you can while avoiding the other danger zones to reduce the strain on your healer. With each additional cast of Spore Sack, there will be an additional one of these larger AoE sacks. This will reduce the safe space further and further until it is impossible for the group to survive the burst damage created from their detonation. Prior to each Spore Sack, the boss will cast Excretion on a random party member. This will deal a moderate amount of damage and apply a heavy debuff. The healer should cleanse the heavy effect to avoid inconvenience. This fight will get harder the longer it lasts. The second boss is Gauro. While the appearance is altered, this is unmistakably a Dire Sword type enemy, similar to the final boss in Stone Vigil Hard, or the world spawns found near Zenith in the Churning Mists. It has all the traditional attacks with the same animations. Like its brethren, there are no danger zones drawn into the playspace to warn of the attack. You must watch the boss and react. Nearly all of this damage is avoidable. Most of these attacks will also apply an infirmity debuff, reducing healing received for 10 seconds. There are 4 attacks that you can expect initially. If the Gaura raises one of its arms above its head, this indicates a melee frontal cone. If the Gaura raises its tail high in the air, this indicates a backwards melee cone. If the Gaura raises both of its hands to its face, this indicates it is about to spit a fireball to the location of a party member it has targeted. If the Gaura lowers its head, this indicates that it is about to charge to the location of a party member it has targeted. That should all be a refresher if you are familiar with the level 50 Stone Vigil boss. Here's the twist. Gaura has one new ability, Volcanic Howl. When cast, it will deal room-wide, unavoidable AoE damage to all party members, and the boss will gain a red glow. As long as the boss is glowing, all of his other abilities will be empowered. The frontal cone now leaves behind a whirlwind and will deal persistent damage, and the tank should avoid standing in it. The tail swipe turns into a circular AoE. All melee units will need to run away from the boss as soon as they begin to see the animation. That will allow them to avoid damage and knockback. The charge leaves behind an eruption point on the ground. Avoid standing in it. The fireball becomes a flamethrower. This will deal massive damage in a large cone in the direction the boss has turned to face. It will deal that damage over several seconds in multiple ticks. Begin moving away as soon as you see the boss turn in your direction. The challenging aspect of this fight is a lack of danger zones, which we have all become familiar with. As long as you can adjust to keeping an eye on the boss's animations, everything else should fall into place. The final boss of Sohm All Hard Mode is the Lava Scorpion. It's going to get hot in here, but I would not recommend taking off all your clothes. It would make this encounter more challenging than intended. Molten Silk is a large melee AoE whose shape changes with each cast. There will be a safe space either directly behind the boss, directly in front of the boss, or at the center inside the boss's hitbox. Melee units will need to move to the safe space to avoid damage. Realm Shaker is a point-blank AoE. All melee units will need to retreat to a safe distance. Deadly Thrust is a tank buster. Use resistance cooldowns and be ready to top off the tank's health. Hiss will summon mini scorpions, which each have a nasty attack with a long cast time. Burn these down before they finish their cast. The first hiss will summon 2 adds, the second hiss will summon 4 adds. I have not learned if that number continues to increase. Let me know in the comments in case you've run into this. The Lava Scorpion will use Flying Press multiple times throughout the fight. This can be considered the encounter's main mechanic. The boss leaps to a targeted player and triggers a series of small AoE danger zones that are scattered around the arena. Move to a safe space as needed. Each time Flying Press happens, it will also spawn a small pool of lava near the targeted player and increase the size of all existing lava pools by 1 magnitude. It is important not to spread out too much, especially at the start of the fight, or lava pools could start closing in on you from all sides. Either way, if the fight drags on long enough, the entire fighting space will eventually be covered in lava. Work the boss's health down between adds and try and keep lava pools clustered. You should be able to finish it off before the arena is completely flooded. Thank you for joining me for this guide. If you found it helpful, please make sure to hit the like button. If you are interested in other Final Fantasy XIV news and information, you can subscribe to the channel to be notified when new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Twitter @itsboats. Once again, thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great day.